Hello, hello! Welcome everybody to another wonderful Thunderbird live hacking session. It's Thursday morning here in beautiful Vancouver, Canada. Today is sunny. I don't know if you can see from the extra high exposure of the camera is burning my cheek, but there's sun outside. It's a beautiful day finally after weeks and weeks of depressing and terrible rain, but yeah, nothing else to say. Hello everyone, how's everybody doing? Are you guys okay? Say hi to the chat, say hi in the chat, and I will read everything. Today, what we're gonna do a lot of cool things. Mostly we're gonna do a bunch of design stuff because we need to redesign a very important section of Thunderbird, and I'm gonna ask your help and your feedback to make it right, to make it better. Before we do that though, as usual, the usual disclaimer, I tend to read everything in the chat, so if you have any questions, you want to interject, you want to give some suggestion or anything, just feel free to write it in the chat. I don't read it all the time, otherwise I will this streaming will look like shit because I stop every 2 seconds to just read the chat. I usually work for a little bit, for 15-20 minutes, then I take a break, I read the chat, I answer all the comments, and then I go back to work. So yeah, let's get started. Hello everyone, already a bunch of people saying hi on the chat. Hello Panner, hello Resonics, welcome. So what I want to show you, first of all, if you saw last live streaming, you know that I've been working on the attachment pane, just redesigning and coding the new attachment pane. So I want to show you what we have right now, what I did so far, and the patch. Oh my god, everything's coming up. The patch is currently under review, so hopefully it's gonna land next week, but there are a bunch of quirkiness and a bunch of things that need to be addressed, but other than that, it's pretty good. So I'm gonna show you what I did to no Mac run. This is the wrong command. Boop boop. It's Mac build. Yeah. I want to show you what I coded, what I ended up implementing for the attachment pane in the compose window, and all the little things that I implemented. I'm super excited about it. So let me show you what I did. First of all, the new message here. The button, we decided to leave it here for now because having the full bar always visible at the bottom with the button here was taking up too much space for, I don't know, it's not that, the thing is that you're not gonna write an email every time, you're not gonna have an attachment every time you write an email. So the attachment area, yes, it's important, but doesn't have to be visible all the time. So as an example, if I have a bunch of attachment, before I attach something, I will ask you to keep an eye on this section here where my mouse is moving. Just keep an eye there. So I attach, I select, bloop. Did you see? That was so cute. But anyway, the attachment pane now it's at the bottom here, and you can open it and toggle it just by clicking on the full bar like it happens in the reader section. And of course, the tooltip updates itself. You have, I implemented a new shortcut tooltip. So Alt A to always attach, and this is an access key. It's discoverable because the A is has an underscore. So if you press Alt A, it prompts the file picker. And then here we have the full list of attachments, and it always shows the amount of attachments with the file size of all the attachments in just all the attachments that you have here, the sum of the file size. If I add more things, if I add another attachment, look at that, bloop, we have a little tiny animation. So we do a bunch of things. There was a problem in the first iteration where when you add multiple files or you add another file, the attachment pane doesn't scroll down to show you all the attachment that you added, and some users were losing like weren't getting enough visual feedback to know, hey, was the attachment actually attached? Do I have to scroll here and check it wasn't attached? So other than increasing the number of the attachments here, we have implemented this animation that confirms, hey, we got a plus 3 attachments. So if I add 1, 2, 3, it gives a little plus 3, and then automatically selects the last attachment that you picked and scrolls down the full list of the bucket. So if we increase the bucket, you see we have more attachments. Always selects the last one and auto scroll the buckets at the bottom. So it's more obvious that the latest attachment that you pick was actually attached to the message. I also fixed the keyboard navigation here. The arrows left and right weren't working, so I fixed this. And you can also, if you press Alt and you put you hit arrow left and right, you can reorder your attachments, or right click, you can reorder attachment. We have this little widget here that opens, and you can just move right, move left, move to last. If you select another thing, like move to first, or sort from like alphabetically from A to Z, all this good stuff. So yeah, this is the new attachment pane that there was a little bit of pushback from a couple of developers that they were saying like these, it's annoying for someone having this big bar at the bottom, because they say that it takes too much space vertically. It's better to take more space horizontally. I disagree entirely. First of all, this is like 30 pixel high, so it's not that it's always, if it was always open like this big, I would agree, like this is awful, because it takes too much space in the message body. But you can collapse it and it doesn't create any issue, and it's actually better in my opinion, because you always have a good visual reference of what how many attachments you have and what's the file size of your message. Before it was completely hidden, we just had a very ugly massive clip icon just for whatever reason. So this solution, it's way cuter. And once again, if you select something, it reopens. Of course, it opens back the panel, remembers your resizing option, and also gives the little +1, and you can of course download all your things here. And when you don't have any attachment, the attachment pane just completely disappears. The other pushback that I had is that in the previous version, in the current version, we had the ability to open the attachment pane even if it was completely empty, to give the users a dropping area when they were like dragging and dropping some files. And to me, that's wrong. This shouldn't happen, because we shouldn't limit the dropping area of the messenger compose shouldn't only be one single container at the bottom or to the side. Like if the user moves the attachments or moves a file on top of the compose area, we should be smart enough to recognize or to ask the user, what do you want to do? Do you want to attach these, or do you want to add it in line? So one thing that I proposed was this little thing. Where is it? Here. These little mockups that I did, basically when the user goes on rollover, like it drags a file on top of the whole area, the whole message compose just shows this overlay with two big ass sections that you cannot miss. It's impossible. And you can drop the file where you want. You want to add it as an attachment, or you want to append it in line in your message body. And if you select append in line, of course it will add it in line if it's an image. If it's not an image, it won't do it. If it's an image, an icon, if something graphical that we can visualize, these will appear. If it's an MP3 file or is a zip file, it won't ask you to add it in line. But yeah, you can drop it here, and it uses the cursor location in your message body. But yeah, this is a follow-up, something that I want to implement, and I think this is saner and way easier to use than having a small, tiny area like a bottom bar or just a container that you need to open in order to drop a file in it. It's not intuitive in my opinion. So these are the things that I did for the attachment pane. Let me know if you guys like it. Leave a comment below. Oh, hello. A bunch of people showed up. Good evening. Oh, hey, Vries. Hey, how's it going? Good evening. It's morning here. It's 11 in the morning. Good to see you. It's always beautiful to see. Hello, Viam. It's always beautiful to see known faces or known nicknames in the chat. Danny said they can always get rid of the status bar and save a few more pixels. Yes, Danny, actually, that's another proposal that I have that hasn't been approved yet, but I'm trying to push it. Get rid of the status bar. The status bar is kind of like an outdated concept. Firefox removed it by implementing some of these like overflowing tooltips. We use the status bar for a couple of important things, like the progress bar when the message is saved as a draft, and also the language switcher and the encryption status. But all those can be repositioned pretty easily in the main toolbar or in the main addressing area. So it's not a big deal. It's not a problem. Amro, it is an awesome idea indeed. Thank you, Amro. Yeah, I love it. One thing that I want to do before continuing, I want to actually go to my previous video. Oh, look at that. There's an overview. You can see my recommendation here. Your videos, my previous video, and I want to read the comments underneath. Thunderbird live hacking view on YouTube. Don't start. Okay, don't start. Because I asked you guys to leave some comments. Okay, in the previous video. Team says, this is fantastic. Didn't you worked on Thunderbird? Yes, team. The insight you gave on how it works is great. It's still my favorite client, so it's brilliant to see you're polishing all the little things. Just missed it alive, dang. Oh, I hope, team, you're here around. Danny suggests for the next week, work on the address book or experimental mockups for the chat, and your thoughts on it. Why it's important to keep it in Thunderbird, what protocol you'll like to see. Yeah, Danny, that's a very interesting question. The chat thing, it's a tricky thing, because the chat is, we just implemented telemetry working properly in 78, so we still don't have the full idea of, is the chat actually used? Is someone using the chat in Thunderbird, or is just there and it's like it's not used, or like 0.001% of our user base is using the chat? Is it dead code? Is something that we can remove, or a lot of users are using the chat, and so we need to push it as much as possible? So that's a very tricky part. We're waiting for some more telemetry to see if it's actually used, and then we're gonna take a decision. We were doing some work to implement matrix support into the chat, but we don't wanna, for now, we're not gonna spend any resources. For the address book, I have some mockups. The work started a little bit, but it wasn't it's like I'm not sure if we'll have time before the next release to do the address book redesign, because it's a massive thing, and we're doing a lot of extra things. Also, there are a lot of extra priorities that we're taking care of. Let's check the chat. Schrodinger's hat. Hello. Who's here? Mickey or the other guy? I don't remember. I don't remember the name. Gabriele or Mickey, one of the two. I don't know. But yeah, you guys, if you speak Italian, check out Schrodinger hat. It's an awesome YouTube channel where they do a bunch of very interesting interviews, and they talk about open source. And I was interviewed at, if you speak Italian, because they're Italian, or if they implement some English subtitles. Resonics, $25 donation, Resonics. Oh my God. Always enjoy watching your content. Keep up the great work. Oh my God, thank you so much. This is, oofed. this is the biggest donation I've ever got. Oh my God. What? Are you sure? Okay, thank you. Well, you decide what I'm gonna work on today. No, I know what to work on. Hello, Miki. Okay, don't get distracted by shit. $25 is a lot. Okay, thank you, man. Let me show you what we are gonna be working today. The massive redesign that we have to do is about the account setup, the account creation. Our account creation and email wizard account setup process, it's a bit janky because it's based on a million different pop-ups and a million different dialogues. It's not optimal. So I'm going to show you what I mean. Actually, let me pop these out. Let me recompile a little bit. It was improved from 68 to 78 a little bit, especially the email wizard area and the introduction page, like the account wizard, account setup page. But the fact that every single account is based on a dedicated dialogue is just a nightmare. It's a nightmare from a code point of view to handle. It's a nightmare from just performance point of view. It's hard to interact with the different accounts. When you're setting up one thing, then you cannot set up another thing. Like if you, for example, the simplest thing, if you want to set up your email and automatically get your calendar and contacts synced from your email provider, you cannot do it. You have to do it manually in 3 different dialogues, which is a nightmare. Resonic is the new, Miki says Resonics is the new best fan. Yeah, it's fan number 1. Resonics 1 is just on top. You can buy my love with money, you know? No, it's okay. By the way, I love this kind of content. Thank you, Miki. I love making this kind of content. Anyway, so this is the kind of situation that happens when you launch Thunderbird for the first time. This is like the introduction page. It says, welcome to Thunderbird. It gives you the version, all these buttons to set up your accounts, a little bit of introduction, some helpful resources link. But if we detect that you don't have any account set up, we automatically trigger the pop-up dialog. And this is the first issue. Imagine like you open software and the first thing that you see is a pop-up that covers information, like important information underneath. So what do? Do you focus on the pop-up, or you close the pop-up and just you read what's underneath? Maybe what's underneath the pop-up it's more important than we shouldn't slap the user in the face with a dialogue as soon as they open Thunderbird. And this whole dialogue, at first it's not really a dialogue, it's massive. It's almost as big as the whole page because we need to put a lot of information in it. And I'm going to show you what we do here. First of all, if you want to set up a new email or if you want to set up a new account, we have this little link here. We put it here because reasons. You can get a new email address and opens another dialog. And it's terrible because first of all, it's an HTML page written in jQuery. So this is jQuery is just used in this thing. And here we were supposed to list all the email providers that we have a deal with or we have partnership. We will extend this list, but it's not like, what is this? It's just whatever. If you click, I think I'll configure this later, it just closes everything, which is not great. If you skip this, it closes everything and reopens it up like in another location. It's just no. That thing is no. Just kill it with fire. Just burn it. But if we do, for example, a test here, Alessandro, we put my email, thunderbird.net, and we put something. This is a fake. I put a fake password, whatever. This button works to show and hide the password. If you write something wrong here and you remove the focus from the email address, we use these smart icons and we invalidate the row. So there's a little bit of UX here that kind of works and it's good, but it's not optimal, especially for the next part. So if you have your email address. If you click continue, we just use the auto discovery session, and we access the Mozilla Internet Service Provider database. We check all the emails if this email actually exists. Does it exist? Okay. If we can find it, we suggest auto configuration. We say, okay, you should use actually IMAP, the IMAP protocol, or POP3 if you want. Download all the emails on your computer, don't use it like a remote. And this is not too bad. First of all, you already see some quirkiness of using a dialog, because we have this massive empty space that before it was necessary for like listing all the loading and searching in progress, and it's all there. Now we cannot squish it and resize it, because can you imagine like you're using your dialog and every time you click something, the dialog expands and collapses, expands and collapses? No. Epilepsy guaranteed. And another thing now, if we change, for example, if we write an email that doesn't really exist, and we can continue, this type of address cannot be found anywhere, we return a manual configuration option. And this is rough. This is woof. Can you imagine you're a new user using Thunderbird for the first time and okay, let's set up an email. How difficult could it be? Look at this. Protocol, incoming, outgoing. Oh, you cannot change the outgoing. Okay, the server, it's manually written, but other than being manually written, you can also select it like a pre-configured type of value, but you can also manually write the value. So we have these editable menu lists. And then you have SSL, auto detect, authentication, stuff like that. They're passing the vacuum cleaner outside my apartment, and my dog is freaking out. So yeah, this is not good. And you can see like how many information are cramped in these dialogue, and it's a lot. It's a lot to take in. It's a lot to manage. And imagine these in multilingual, like if this is it, like the German word of authentication, I'm sure it's way longer. So we are limited by localization, internationalization of our strings. This dialogue might grow even larger, and it's not okay. But let's assume you go through this process and it's flawless and it works. Okay, now I have my email. What do? I need to set up my calendar. Another dialog for the calendar. Where is my calendar? On the network. Username of my calendar, the URL of my calendar. This location doesn't require credential. What does he mean? Like, what is this? We don't know. Okay, I want to import my address book. Just insert a name of your address book. That's it. This is yuck. This is not the best. So the proposal here is remove all these dialogues, because every time you need to set up an account, we shouldn't have just dialogues, another dialogue, and another dialogue, blah, blah. Remove all these dialogues. Turn the account setup or inside a tab or inside the same main tab, so it's a full page, so we can leverage the full size of the screen. We avoid showing information that the user don't need, because if the first thing that we want the user to do when they open Thunderbird is to set up an account, we shouldn't show, hey, you can do also a million other things with other million different links. Set up an account or import your other whatever. If you have information on account settings from another program, you can import it. So those should be the main actions that we require the user to do. And the other thing is that Thunderbird currently, actually since yesterday, now supports multi-threading. And each tab, whenever you open another tab, is on a separate thread. So it's awesome because we don't hog the resources. If something goes wrong in a specific section, it doesn't affect the other section, which is beautiful. And the other thing is that at the end of your email setup process, once we do the auto discovery of your IMAP, POP 3 accounts, whatever you want to use. We should also auto-detect calendar, because if, for example, you have a Gmail account or a Proton Mail account or a Fastmail account, you set up your account, and at the end, those emails are connected or linked to remote calendars and remote address books. So why don't we directly, after a successful login, we ask the user, hey, do you want to auto set up, or do you want to auto configure your calendar or your address book? If you have a million different calendars or a million different addresses, we should give them an option to, hey, sync this, this, and that. Don't sync everything, or don't sync anything. No, I don't want to set up anything. So we should be smart. Like, our application should be way smarter than it is right now. That's what we're going to do today. We're going to design a bunch of shit. And these, using Figma, I already took a massive screenshot of the body here, of the background area, and I took a bunch of screenshots of the most obvious steps of your account email setup. We're gonna deal with the email wizard, and we're gonna first do some very low fidelity wireframes, because we need to organize a lot of information here. We need to organize a lot of elements, and if we start doing it with text and we try to be fancy, we are gonna spend years in here, and we're never gonna find proper solutions. So here, a bunch of screenshots, and we can start. First of all, let me grab a sip of my tea and read some comments. Delicious. Dennis, and my heart almost stopped the first time Alex hovered the show password icon. Yeah, I did that in the past. I did that in a previous live streaming, just showing my password accidentally, like, shit. Oh, Paxi Lexi Fixie, hello, good to see you then. Dan Simoik, Dan, hi Dan. It's good to see you. Hello, welcome back. Okay, so the first thing that we need to identify, there are some thoughts about completely removing the toolbar, because if the user doesn't have any account, what's the point of showing a toolbar with disabled buttons? It's always better, as like a rule of thumb, it's always better to do not show the user something that he cannot use. It's very silly to show a button that is disabled. It's there, and the user might think, but I did everything that I have to do in Thunderbird. Why this button doesn't work? Why can't I click it? So there are some ideas like, let's remove the toolbar. If your Thunderbird installation is completely empty, why having the toolbar? I would argue that without the toolbar, this is very, very, very weird to look at. Like, we had a couple of tabs without toolbars, and it's rough. Like, I don't know. It's it doesn't look great, first of all. But the other thing is that we wanna completely take over this page. So we could potentially just simply have, and let me block these layers, otherwise I'm gonna have some hard time here. We can entirely have something taking over. Like an entire white, boom, something taking over. We might also use the same background color of the tab, so we don't have any disconnection. And here we can use all this beautiful space to do our account setup. Another idea is circulating, because now we support multi-threading in different tabs, is we leave the home tab, but we open a secondary tab with the account setup thing. I'm not sure. For now, I'm gonna stick with one tab, and when we connect the first time, or if the user clicks set up a new email account, set up something, we entirely take over the entire page. We have an overlay that takes over the whole page, so we stay in the same tab. In here, we are gonna, we need to define a bunch of things. We have a couple of approaches that we can try. So first of all, you see here we have multiple steps. It's a pretty typical multiple steps configuration. You insert your initial credentials, then you click continue, and we discover the auto configuration, and if it's all good, you click done. So there are like basically just 2 steps or like 3 steps. Set up, confirm configuration, click done, finished. There's an extra step here. If you decide to check a manual configuration, you can click on configure manually here, and it opens this section. Or if your email address hasn't been found in any ISP providers, we ask you, define your configuration settings, please. So that's an extra step. All these things usually during an account setup, kind of like when you do a checkout experience or a checkout on Amazon. Whenever you confirm something and it's confirmed, it's correct, you don't need to edit it anymore, it gets, or you switch to another page, or it gets collapsed into its own tab. And that's something interesting. Like, in the case that your configuration is correct, why should you still need to edit your name, email address, and password? Sorry. Kind of tired. If everything is correct, why this is taking up so much space if the important section is just this? So we can start prototyping something like that with some very low fidelity wireframes. So the first thing that we need to do is decide if we want vertical tabs layout, kind of like Amazon, or a pagination layout, which every time you successfully, and it's confirmed that it's a success, successfully complete a step, you switch to another page, so that the information of the previous step are not filling up or not interfering with your next page. And a vertical tab layout is very, very simple. Like, first, let's divide these 2 things just because we want to just completely separate. The vertical layout, it's very simple. First of all, we should have 2 tabs. The first tab would be something like use an existing email account, and the second tab would be create a new email account. So use existing, something like that. And here we would have something like create new, instead of having this solution that we automatically assume that you already have an email account, but if you want to create a new or get a new email, you should click on this link that opens another dialog. No, these are like very simple 2 tabs thingy that we can implement in the same page. And with this method, we won't need to have 2 different dialogues. So for example, if this is selected, this is not going to be selected. So we can put, like, as an example, like a lighter gray, something like that. If we have something like this, then we can have a sort of like, of course, we would have the usual 3 fields, right? We have the email, your name, email, and password. We can have like 1, 2, 3. First thing that we should think of here, how do we want to organize our information? Since now we are taking over this page, and how do I, okay, yeah. If I remove everything, for example, we are full page. So our Thunderbird installation opens up and it's like that. What do? Do we align all these things to the center? Or we align it to the left and we potentially leave the rest of the page empty? Does it look weird? Is it correct? This is something like similar to a solution that Firefox decided to do in their preferences settings. In their preferences, they decided to not go full screen. Even if they have the full size of the page, they decided to not go full screen, because going full screen or centering a line, it's kind of like strenuous on the eye. It's challenging a little bit, especially if you have like a small amount of information stretched all along the entirety of the page. It's better to have a compact column that it's more readable and it's easier to read than having full screen. So I think we should go left align to the side. And we can potentially, if we want to be cute and if we want to have a more welcoming setup system, we can have some art here, some glyph art or some animated GIF in the background, something, I don't know. Have you ever set up, like, I don't know, the recent Ubuntu 2004 installation or the Pop! OS installation? When you're setting up everything, it's on the side. On the other side, you have some graphics representing your steps. This is something that we could definitely do. So I would say let's left align in. Another thing that I would like to do is using the labels on top of the of your field, because this is something that it creates a lot of issues when you translate these, because these strings in other languages might be massively long, and we are forced to, because of this, we're forced to have a minimum width of these that it's translatable. Literally, the minimum width can be translated by translators and be changed by translator to accommodate the length of your words. And this is terrible. Like, why don't we simply put it on top of the fields like it's used, like your email, something like that, right? Oh, sorry, your name, email address, and password. Okay, so we can do your name without the quotes at the end. Sorry, the column at the end, because it doesn't make sense. Email address. We don't need to say, hey, this text belongs to this field. We can represent it with proximity. Okay. Something like that. Very, very simple, very, very easy. We can group these so they're easy to manipulate and move around. And okay. Okay, we can have something like that. If we want, of course, we can indent here, and we can extend these for the full length of this page. So in this case, we have these options here. As usual, we would have the remember password, all these icons. We are not focusing too much on this. Let's just put a little rectangle here, so we know that here we have a section, we have something, an element that occupies some visual space, that is the remember password, and then we're gonna have the buttons, of course. Actually, yeah, and the buttons that we have, it's gonna be continue, and it's the main button, and then we have a secondary button here that it's gonna be to cancel this interaction, something like that. Maybe the buttons could also be aligned, but it's something that we can define later. Could also be aligned to the actual tabs. So we have these, it's all the center, something like this. Okay, so as a next step, this is very, very rough wireframe. So I'm sorry if this is boring as fuck, but this is something that you need to do. You need to just define and prototype and try to think out loud what are the solutions. So you're literally looking in the process of me, how do we solve these issues? So the next step is, how do we solve these solution here. So the user clicks continue. We show a bunch of loading, searching in ISP, blah, blah, blah. And then we increase the height of the dialog to show these extra things. But because we don't have enough space, everything's super tight, super compact. And we say, okay, this is your protocol. Which protocol do you want to select? Incoming, outgoing, messaging, blah, blah, blah. No, not great, right? So we can, now that we have enough space, if we do another step, another section, and here we can do a sort of like simulation of multi-steps. We can continue on. Let's say that this is the first step. Oh, Avery said, for me, it's interesting to see since I don't do anything resembling design myself. Oh, it's good. It's good to know that a bunch of people find this interesting. Thank you. And of course, let me know if it's super boring or if you think I'm doing something wrong or if you have any suggestions. So this is sort of like, okay, first step. The user selects, I want to use an existing account, or it's already pre-selected by default. A bunch of text we're going to have here, of course, like we have, like use your current email, set up your existing, blah, blah, blah. We'll repeat a lot of the same thing, but we're going to have a bunch of introductory text here. You enter your information, you click continue, and page 2, or the next step, is now we could have something like, we could have a loader directly here. Do we need to show all the information? Do we need to show the user which options we're looking at, like which services we're tapping? I guess we do, right? Okay, so we could say that when the user clicks continue, something might take over. We do our searching stuff, right? Oops. This is a possible solution. When you click continue, something takes over, like your form is disabled because you shouldn't be able to change your information while we're searching if your information are correct. Your form is disabled, your buttons are disabled, and we show an overlay on top with all the information that it's going through. We're searching this, we're searching that, and of course we should have a cancel button here. If the user wants to interrupt the process. So this is something that might work. And then if we find a good configuration, so step 2 good info, something like that, we can have, could have something this way. We could collapse all your previous information into a before tab. That you could have here something like your name that you specified here in this first field, and then you could have maybe the name could be something like slightly bigger, and then you could have your email that is slightly smaller. And to show that maybe that it's something it's correct, we could have like a check mark or something. I don't know, something very, very silly. And this is correct. And then of course we should give the user the ability to edit. Where's my edit? Oops. Bring me up. Something like that. So, yeah, we could potentially collapse. What am I doing here? Move here. Okay. We could potentially collapse all the information that you wrote before into a tab or into a previous step. So all these full field just collapses into a step, and then we can return these information. So we can return the protocol, the incoming, outgoing, and the username used, just to confirm. So here we can have a simple select your protocol. Select your protocol. Oops, sorry. Incoming, outgoing. Actually, let me grab these. Let me put it here so I can. Let me crop this because I need just this section. Boop, 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 boop. Okay, put it here so I can see it better. Noise. Okay, we're gonna have a select your protocol down here and with a way better organization. So we can have our selected thingy. Selected thingy, that's the technical term here. Duplicate this and make it, for example, dark. We shrink it a little bit. Put it here. Just give it a stroke so it's visible. Oops, no. I said the stroke. I want the stroke to have this color. Okay, so we can have something like this. And we say, boom, boom, boom. This is IMAP, all uppercase. And then because we have plenty of space, we can use the paradigm of the description that we have inside Thunderbird. We have also in Firefox, for example, in the preferences, when we have an option that has extra information after the option. Of course, I cannot find it now. It was always present. It's a descriptive. Yeah. Oh my God. Seriously? Was removed? Was removed. It wasn't removed. It's not there. Oh God. What I'm trying to show you is we have way more information here. Where is the description tag? We have a description tag. No. Okay. I missed it. Whatever. So something that we should implement is an extra step, or like an extra little CSS variation that allows to have a description on a radio button that it's underneath the main clickable tags, just to give more context. Because here you can see the solution that we adopted here, IMAP, remote folders. What does it mean, remote folders, for a non-technical users? Nothing. So we can write something like keep your folders and email on your server provider, whatever, something like that. We can have this sort of like variation that is very helpful for non-technical users. And we can have something like that. Of course, all these spacing, all these things are awfully wrong, but bear with me because I'm just doing wireframing. Technically, wireframes shouldn't even have text, so this is already an extra step. But yeah, we're doing that. Let's select boom, or duplicate, and we can have the pop 3. Pop 34. That's the next level of pop. Keep your mail on your computer or something like that. We can improve the description, but at least we have these two options. We have way more space here to improve the description and to show the users the differences between the two options, and have more space to quote unquote educate the user or what type of selection they might do. And if they select IMAP, because we have all these extra space, we could potentially incoming, outgoing, and username. We don't need to repeat the username here because the username, it's of course your email. I guess we might potentially repeat the username if the user wants to manually edit these options, but you can have something like what do we call these? Configuration overview, something like that. It's just a placeholder. And incoming, outgoing, we need to report the incoming server that we're using, outgoing server, and the type of username, because that might be important. So we can have yeah, let's have something like that. Incoming. Line here. I don't know. Let me take a break. Let me read some messages. Resonix, I still find it interesting, and I do design work for what it's worth. Oh, really? What type of design you do, Resonix? I'm curious. I didn't pay too much attention. Shocked that you developed Thunderbird in JavaFX Scene Builder? Then realize it's big. Oh, okay. JavaFX Scene Builder. Wow. Oh, Akam. Yeah, that would be rough. Waidul Islam said, I love you, sir. Your tutorial changed my life. All respect. Oh, thank you. Change your life. Oof. It's just silly me saying silly things. What's going on here? Can I get a TLDR? Ram Kumar, we are doing some Thunderbird design. We are redesigning the account setup of Thunderbird, and we're doing some low fidelity mockups, wireframes to try to improve the account setup. Amro said maybe a non-technical can confuse username with their name instead of the actual email address. Yes, that's a very good question, because we assume that it's not a question. That's a very good point. Amro, thank you. Because we assume as developers, or especially like for the ISP, like when you connect to your email server, your username to log into your server is the same as your email address. So by writing username here, maybe users can get confused some shape or form. Yeah, that's a very good question. But this configuration, it's something like that we should improve. So incoming and outgoing. Incoming server IMAP. We can have something. I'm not too sure how to handle this, but we can have. Let me put this outside here, let's copy this and paste it, because we're gonna have the usual cancel, continue, or manual configuration. But instead of manual configuration having as a button here, I want this section, the configuration overview, to have a sort of like similar edit thing here. I will never find this thing. Too many rectangles. Okay. We could have something like this. Edit. I don't know if it's clear, but it's easier. No, no, no. It's better than having like already another thing, like having too many action buttons. Like the actions for every step should just be continue or go back, continue or go back. And if we want to edit something, we should let the user know which section can be edited inside these step-by-step guide, right? What's Thunderbird? Thunderbird is the email client. You're not taking too much time, Ramkumar. Thunderbird is the email client of Mozilla. Not really, we're independent, but yeah. To be honest, WordPress helped me a lot. Thanks a ton. You're very welcome, Ramkumar. I'm a Thunderbird developer. So yeah, these buttons shouldn't. Yeah. I sorry, I'm getting there, getting back there. So here we can have incoming and outgoing. Let's just put it here like that. We can have an incoming section. Maybe. No, we're confusing things too much. So instead of writing, because it's getting confusing, let's simulate some text by this. I hate this. I don't like this. You see my struggle. Incoming and outgoing. Let's say that this is outgoing. Incoming, outgoing, and username. We might do something like this. But also in this case, this is tough because you can see how much space we need to leave here. So also in this case, I don't want to align these to the right. Incoming, right? Outgoing, right? Incoming server, outgoing server. Username. Okay, let's leave it like that for now. This is just a placeholder. We're gonna get back to it later on. But at least here we know that this information, we need to show them in a sort of like sane way. Here, instead of simply edit, like edit configuration, maybe if we put it right align, it's better. Edit configuration, something like that. Whatever, the text, just leave it at it. It's cleaner. Text, we're going to deal with that. But this is the potential second step. And then the third step, which is the confirmation of everything. Why this thing keeps moving? I don't want to move this. Look at that. It's just going around. Just lock it in place. I'm not moving it. Okay, thank you. Let's duplicate this. Let's move it down. Third step here. Step 3. Actually, after the second step, if you click continue, it just finishes up. So the step 3 that we can analyze, it's this fucking mess. This is gonna be, whoa. This is gonna be tough to handle. This is a lot of information, so I don't think I gotta do it today. Need a little break. But what do you guys think about these first step, second step? These should be all together. So the vertical tab approach, you have two tabs. Use an existing email account or create a new one. If you switch, it just gives you different layout here. It's done. It's not gonna be all squished to the left at a half page. This is just an example. Here we're gonna try to deal with the pagination. But if you click continue, you put all your information, you're gonna have a sort of overview of I'm searching, I'm tapping all the address information, and if you want to interrupt, you can click cancel. But if it's correct, we switch to the second step, and the second step shows that, okay, your information are correct. So we collapsed the fields, because you don't need to interact with the fields anymore. If you click edit, of course, it's gonna open back up the fields, and you can update them, and it's gonna remove these. But here we give way more information to the type of protocol that you need to select, and then we give a configuration overview that if you click, it's gonna go to this thing that we need to design. But this is the step-by-step vertical thing that basically we can use some animation to collapse and expand things like an accordion. Do you remember accordions? They were great thing. When jQuery implemented accordions the first time, it was very good. The pagination thing it's quite similar, but the main differences in concept is that going back to what you wrote before, it's harder. Because usually a pagination, the good thing about a pagination is just it gives you the different steps. So we know that in these setup, we have 3 steps. And we can let the user know in which step they are currently, right? That's a good thing about pagination. You already show the user, this is not going to take long because it's just 3 steps, potentially just 2 steps. But in the first step, ooh, I'm losing my voice. Sorry. In the first step, you have the same whatever field, form field. When you switch to the second step and you have this type of information, the only way for you to edit your previously inputted information is to actually go back. So I'm not sure if the pagination is a good thing. I think I prefer this type of like vertical tabs, that when something it's confirmed and it's correct, it just gets collapsed. So it's stacked one on top of another. It doesn't take too much space. It gives you a sort of like checkmark completion step by step. And it's easier to access if you want to edit. Yeah, I think I'm going to go with the vertical layout. What do you guys think? Well, okay, I think we are... It's been an hour already. We analyzed a bunch of things. And we did some low fidelity mockups, some wireframings that can give us a quick overview of all the challenges and issues that we might stumble upon in doing these. Whew. Oh my God, I'm so tired. I should sleep more. But yeah, let me know if you guys have any questions. I know this wasn't the most exciting thing, the most exciting live streaming. Next one, we're gonna code something very interesting, and we're gonna code something super fun. It's gonna be better. But yeah, let me know in the comments or in the chat right now if you have any questions, any doubts, if you hate it, if you love it, what's going on. Rankumar said, pagination does feel like it stretches the process in some ways. The accordion method you say seems good. Thank you, Ramkumar, for agreeing with me. It's always good agreeing with me. But Ramkumar, yeah, you lost the initial thing. The initial thing is basically, this is the current setup of Thunderbird. When you set up an account, it just opens dialogues upon dialogues, and it's not great. So yeah, try, especially in this is, and I did this like no one else, because the version in 68 was even worse than this one. I did this to reorganize it and make it keyboard accessible, and not pretty, not easy. I need to take a nap. Actually, I quit coffee because I had a very strong stomach reaction. I was taking too many coffees, so now I've been off without coffee for 3 days, and it shows. You can see it in my face, in my yawning. But we're waiting for the next stream, Amro. Yes, next stream is next Thursday. Connect at always the same hour. We're gonna find him. But anyway, I think that's pretty much for today. Yay. Thank you so much, guys and girls, for checking this video. Thank you so much for your participation. Thank you again, Rasonics, for your $25 donation. That's insane. But yeah, let me know in the comments below on this video, if, like, what do you think of this process? If you want to see other things in the next stream, if you want to see something more specific, if you have any questions, I will answer in the next video. So yes, thank you so much, guys, for checking out, and until the next one, as usual, happy coding. Bye.